And welcome to Talking the Gridiron. That was a slow mo just to get Jimmy and Jordan ready to talk a little Bengals here in their slumber here. So we were bringing them in slow this evening, folks, on Talking the Gridiron a little bit later. So I guess you get that music when it starts a little bit later. Brandon, get back my old intro. That's what I want. Jimmy Pilato with me again on Talking the Gridiron. And of course, I got Jordan back with us again this week, gentlemen. Week 10, kind of in that what I call the dog days of August when it comes to baseball here a little bit. That's my slogans. That's where we're at in the football season, I feel. But they're important games as they add up here towards the playoff season. The Niners look back. The Bengals, are they back? We'll get into them. Are the Browns taking a jump? Do the Ravens fall back to earth? What the world's with the Steelers? The Lions play a shootout. We got a lot to get into. But first, Jimmy Pilato, how are we doing here? Initial thoughts of Week 10.
Football season's over. My youth team lost, so that season's over. I get to focus full on middle school and high school wrestling. So football season's officially over. Today wasn't – I'm not going to sit here and say that it was all bad because there was good. It was a 3-point game. That was tough. It was a tough one, and they're going to look back at that when they go over the film and then when they go over the game tape. They're going to be like, this was one that we should have had. As good as Houston is and as good as C.J. Stroud was, I mean, they did what they needed to win that game. But there was a lot Tyler Boyd dropped 3 huge drops, 2 first downs and a touchdown. So with all of that, in spite of all the mistakes, you were still only 3 points away. So you can be disappointed as much as you want. I feel like we can't be too disappointed because it wasn't like the Browns game week 2 where you're like, okay, we'll start turning. Oh shit, we're down 27-3. Okay, I guess we're not doing anything today. Today was disappointing, but I can live with it.
Jordan, your thoughts of Week 10? You're on mute there, sir.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Week 10, at least for the Bengals game side, I agree with them there. There was a lot of good. The amazing comeback, especially, you got 2 picks, 1 pick in the end zone. Both turnovers were late in the fourth quarter. The defense gave a lot of yards, but they always kind of play bend, don't break. So we had 2 fumble turnovers on our defense. 1 amazing pick that should have been his second pick 6, but he got stopped a little short for Cam Taylor-Britt. A lot of good. We did all this without T. Higgins in the lineup. Sam Hubbard not being in the run game on a defense, you could definitely tell we were sorely missing him. He ranks top 10 in run defense for his position, and it clearly showed today. The injury there at the end, if we lose one of the best pass rushers in the league, I don't know what it's going to be like. But hopefully we get T. Higgins back, hopefully get some health on the offensive side, and move forward. It kind of reminded me of the Ravens' first matchup. We lost by 3. We had a bunch of opportunities to win, but it's not the end of the world. We just happen to be in the best division of football right now, record-wise.
That Boyd drop was killer there, and that's what I think to you guys. All right, let's go there with the big picture. Then it feels like the AFC North is just totally up for grabs, right? We get the Browns, Watson rallies them late here. They get to pull out the win after they get that great play on defense, and the kicker totally blows it with the miss, totally Brown style. Unlike the Brown style, they end up getting the W. Watson, believe it or not, he kind of makes a big play down the stretch, kind of gets them in field goal range. They end up pulling it out against the Ravens on the road. I mean, and then you have the Steelers there. I mean, they just continue to pull out ugly win after ugly win. I don't know what to say. They continue to chalk it up on the left side of the board, and that's all that matters. I mean, I know you guys, we talk a lot of Bengals from that side of it, but if we can kind of give me your perspective from the other side of it too, what do you think, Jimmy, from a whole there in the AFC North?
It is. I mean, the best division of football. Been that way since for the last couple of weeks. Every single team would have been in the playoffs. The Bengals would have been holding down the last seed if season ended last week. So it's definitely the number 1 division in football. The Browns, of those 4 teams, I would say the Ravens are probably the scariest. They're the most legitimate in what they've been able to do. The Browns' defense is legit, but their offense is iffy. The Bengals have been kind of inconsistent, but the thing about these teams is that they can win in multiple styles. We've seen the Ravens blow teams out. We've seen them hold on and win close games. Today, unfortunately, Lamar had 2 picks, and I think it was 2 pick sixes. That's always going to be killer. especially when you're playing against a team that can't score on offense. If you give them 3 points when you're on offense, that's just not going to be a recipe for success. But it's something to say that your team is in the best division of football, but it's hell every single week because every single game is must win. And if you lose at all, especially now I think we're 1-4 against the AFC, the playoffs, the tiebreakers are getting bleaker and bleaker at this point.
Yeah. No,
But we're only
Jordan.
one back in the division, so I mean it's not all doom and gloom.
Where are you at with do you think the Ravens end up holding on to this? You think the Browns have a legit chance to pull this out, or is it? I mean, I know you want to say you're big. I guess you guys have a better read in this division than I do in weird years and how things play out. Do you have a feel for? Is this just Bengals because we're fans, or do you have are you kind of crap? This does feel like a Steelers steal out a division year or something like that.
Go ahead.
I see a lot of inconsistency with the Ravens. I'm not too terrified of them. I mean, they beat us by 3 points with healthy Joe Burrow. I know they were missing 2 of their offensive linemen, and you're going to hear that from Ravens fans. But we've been playing without a line for years, so I'm not as scared of them. The Steelers actually kind of worry me more because they're winning all kinds of ways, whether it's Watt making big time plays down the stretch or secondary making miraculous turnovers. They kind of remind me of the Bengals from 2 years ago. They're playing really scrappy football, and that scares me because we haven't actually got to see it all that much yet. So I'm a little worried about Pittsburgh taking it. I don't think the Browns have it in the longevity because of just the inconsistent play from Watson, but their record speaks for itself. So I mean, it's not like college where style points matter. They're chalking up the W's. So I'm worried we might be the outside man in if we don't get together on Thursday night.
Jimmy, Revs Steelers minus 25 in the division. Doesn't matter.
No, they've been outscored, outgained. I don't think I probably didn't outgain the Packers again today, but they did win. The wheels are going to fall off. They're going to either come back down to earth or Matt Canada is going to be fired and they're actually going to try and put some points on the board before the fourth quarter. I don't see them as the threat. I would say Cleveland's definitely a threat because they seem to have some kind of mental edge over Cincinnati, especially when Joe Burrow is at quarterback. He's only beat them one time, and it's normally kind of a beatdown when we play the Browns. So if it's coming down to the end of the season and it gets to week 17 where we see Cleveland again, I'm probably going to be a little bit more worried about seeing the Browns. It'll be very interesting to see what happens this Thursday because we got the short week. We're playing against the Ravens, kicking things off for week 11. If we can get that, if we can split this season series with the Ravens, that's great. We got to start putting more wins together in this division, in this conference. So I would say that the Browns are probably scary. I'm not quite sure what I feel about Baltimore at this point.
And Baltimore is the only. It's funny when you guys talk about Baltimore as well. There, Tyler, have a good show, gentlemen. Jordan, happy Veterans Day. Health is wealth, baby. Yes, it is. With your Niners, we'll get into them shortly here. The end of the world, maybe not coming down to it. The Ravens, though, you guys always are so pessimistic on it. So that's what I take from you guys. The Steelers is kind of this bad cloud that just hangs over the division. They won't go away. The Steelers, though, 2 big games. You just said it. They can play at Browns and then at Bengals the next 2 weeks. So that's going to be that'll tell us a lot here in 2 weeks where we're at with this division standings. It just continues. We kind of said it at the beginning of the year, Jimmy, I think for our preseason show that this might be the best division. And I kind of was like, I don't know, but it definitely is kind of proven out that way so far.
There's not a lot of arguments against
it. So if we rank the quarterbacks in that division, we're going to go Burrow automatically number 1, right? We go Lamar 2 in that division. And then we go Watson 3 and then Pickett 4, right? And then but it's always funny to see how they end up in the standings. And Pickett's 2 right now. It's just ridiculous. It's just funny how that works out. So we got that there, the AFC North. Stroud, on the other hand, what do you guys think of him from the opponent's perspective? I mean, he gets the ball back. You guys tie up the field goal. Yes, you should have had the lead, but still he drives them down, gets them in field goal range. The not good tackling on that last play to get him into field goal range, but still he gets him down there. What do you guys think playing against him this week, Jimmy?
Honestly, he's everything that everybody advertised. He's really smart for a young quarterback, which is you're used to being able, especially with a defensive coordinator like Lou Anarumo, forcing these guys into bad mistakes. And they had the 2 turnovers in the first half with the fumbles. They did end up getting his second interception on the season, but he's not a guy that's going to go out there and lose his team a game. And I think the Bengals had to learn the hard way that that's just not who I know it was last year, but we should have known about this coming in. I mean, the Texans are a very favorable matchup every time that they play the Bengals. It doesn't matter last few years who's been at quarterback on either side, but the Texans play us tough. And with CJ Stroud there, D'Amico Ryans, I've talked a lot about that whole quarterback coach combo, and I really like what D'Amico's done. That's a hell of a football team. And with what we saw out of Jacksonville today, they are right there. And it would be a huge turnaround. But what I saw today, this is a very tough, gritty team. They tackled better than anybody that the Bengals have played all season on defense. Weren't letting anybody break out and get into the big play possibility. They were running hard. It's the old quote from Rocky when Apollo's in the corner. He's like, "What the hell? What happened?" He doesn't notice a damn show. He needs a damn fight. That's what Houston's a fight. It's a fist fight for full 4 quarters, and they got the better of us today. They should have nothing taken away from what they did to the Bengals.
Jordan, you're kind of same. You feel that same way about Houston. They feel like they're kind of let me kind of like transition this. This is early for us, but we're going to go early because I feel like it kind of just let's go right to question of the week here, row one brand. True or false, CJ Stroud should be in the top 5 MV conversation. That was in a little bit of a group text we were on GSN. I kind of feel like he's way closer to 10 than 5, but I'm going to throw that out. As watching this, he deserved to be in that conversation. Jordan, as maybe what do you think about that along with his performance today?
Starting at his performance today, I mean, it's everything as advertised coming out of Ohio State, making a big statement against Georgia, even though he came out the short end of the stick in a bowl game. But I got to give a shout out to Noah Brown. The Dallas game last year, he posted over 100 yards, and this game playing for the Texans, he posted over 100 yards. Something about him in the last 2 years, the Bengals can't figure it out. We actually made him look like a rock star now 2 years in a row. And what the hell? What the hell? Ohio
He'll probably be on your guys' team now because he's done so well against you guys at some point.
And then he's not going to do anything when he comes to us.
Yeah, probably so.
But it's just amazing to me. And I'm sorry, what was the second question to that?
So I got it up here on there. I figure we're talking about him right now. Top 5 MVP conversation. Is he in it right now? Is he top 5? It seems high to me. I feel like people are now starting to put him in that jump. Like I said, it came up today in a little group conversation. So I feel like it's maybe worthy of a question here.
I think, I kind of touched on it last week when we were all together with him being an MVP conversation on top of the conversation for rookie of the year. And I think it's because he's a rookie that it's in our mind that, he's gone through half the season, only 2 interceptions. He's posted multiple games of 300 yards. He's got a team totally turned around in a winning column. They're in the playoffs if it started today. I mean, it just I was kind of higher on it last week. I wouldn't quite go top 10, top, but I would definitely keep him. I would definitely keep him in the top 10 because, I mean, rookie of the year, hands down. And, if they do sneak into the playoffs, I mean, would you have that conversation?
I don't know. It just seems like people are starting to have it a little bit more, and I kind of feel like, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of where we're at with the MVQ award, and we're starting to jump guys ahead of other guys that don't deserve it. So that's kind of where I'm at with Jimmy. Do you think he's actually maybe in that conversation at the end of the day? When the voters
he's got to do something so much more spectacular. I mean, he's been great, but that's why we have the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. You have to be a rookie and to win MVP. I mean, to be outside of a solidified top 5 quarterback and win MVP, you have to do something extremely spectacular. So unless that starts coming and he finishes the season, has like 30 touchdowns down the stretch, and we see him break all of these he's broken a few records so far, so it's not like he's out of the question. But yeah, in order for him to win it, and in order for the stingy people who vote for these things. I know that baseball's worse than the other sports, but I feel like it's the same no matter what. He's got to do something way out of line, like where you look at it and go, CJ Stroud is now – he's Patrick Mahomes, but better. If we say that about CJ Stroud, then maybe he'll be in MVP conversation at the end of this season.
And two game winning.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Starts to turn heads.
Yeah, I think that's what you guys say. He needs a big moment. He needs to maybe it goes and doesn't lose from this point on or something like that. Something crazy where he does on a streak.
If they don't lose from now on, I think they're. I have a feeling that the Chiefs are going to drop one more game. I don't know how the tiebreaker will work out, but if they don't lose, they're probably hosting throughout the playoffs, or at least top 2 seeds.
And then this question might take on a whole other meeting at that point. We come to that point. All right, hey, what do you guys think? Niners, they look dominant. Jaguars coming off the bye here. Shanahan, he had them ready to go. Samuel's
Where's
back
Tyler
in.
and Brian?
Well, Brian, he wanted me to shout you out. He got a new job for the post office, so his hours are 6 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Oh.
So I said, we'll tune it on at the work. Get those post office guys hooked on talking the gridiron. So
this guy isn't calling anymore, I bet you, is it, Johnson? It's no longer dark days. Kyle Shanahan's name has been taken off of the hot seat. But that's so dumb.
I told him 2 weeks ago when I believe he ended his own broadcast in the middle of me talking. I told him to relax. It wasn't the end of the world. You're going to get your left tackle back. You're going to get Samuels back. The team's going to Brock Purdy's on a learning curve in the NFL. I mean, we just all those things came to fruition. So it's just
what is it, Debo? What I see Tyler sent me. He's 39-18 when he plays, 8-9 when he doesn't. He obviously makes a massive difference for them, their identity, what they can do from the perimeter with just his running plays, blocking. They can just do a lot of different things with him.
He remembered he had George Kittle today too.
George Kittle made a difference as well. I love how the Niners are actually I feel like last year they didn't use him. I feel like they went away from him a little bit. Maybe he's hurt. I don't know what it was.
Honestly, it makes no sense.
This year he's been awesome. And Purdy was really good today. Niners completely focused coming off a bye week. Definitely wanted to make a statement. They did. The only thing kind of noteworthy out of the game is McCaffrey didn't get a touchdown, so he ends that 17. They were trying hard at the end. I don't know if you had him on your fantasy team, you could have asked for a team to do more to try to get him a ball. They force fed it to him 4 straight times. And that's the one thing the Jaguars did well today. They stopped that at the end of the game where it meant nothing. So, what do we think of the Jaguars? Is that fraudulent then? Did I have no show against the Niners? Is that even at home? I mean, I guess on the road I look at it differently. But what do you guys think? Just throw it away?
To be a fraud, you have to be considered a top 3 team in your conference. They were going to make the playoffs by liberty of their easy-ass schedule, which is still in play.
So you don't
at
buy
the beginning
them
of the, I'm not saying that I don't buy them. They could still do something, like maybe win, upset in the first round of the playoffs. I still think they're going to make the playoffs because outside of Houston, that division is garbage. So they're not out of it by any stretch. And that's what, I mean, I was hearing guys like Prisco say that they're probably just going to make it based on their record. Their record darlings this year because they were bad last year and they happen to get hot at the right times. They're still good enough. They still have a good enough quarterback, coach, good enough weapons that today you can kind of throw out because San Francisco is that much better than you. I think that's what you learned today. The AFC is better than the NFC, but as good as the AFC is, San Francisco is still pretty damn good. And you're not ready to touch the top teams in your own conference, so you're definitely not ready to touch the top teams in the NFC. So I would say that it's just, if you're a Jaguars fan, it's just, you probably should have expected this. If you thought that you were going to come out here and dominate, you had too many brewskis over there in London for those 2 weeks where you were winning on your home turf out in Tottenham and London. You're like, oh yeah, we're definitely the Jaguars, we're going to take it all the way. You're still who you are. You're still who you are.
Hey, it looks like the Texans could. I mean, would you have more confidence in the Jaguars to hold off the Texans, or do you think the Texans could steal this? I mean, they're only one game out. They're right there.
Have they played head-to-head yet?
I think they have played. I'm going to look it up real quick. But, I mean, just based on what you saw today, that has to be something where you're like, well, I don't know. Like that, they won 37-17 at Jacksonville week 3. So yeah, they ended up beating them earlier this year as well. So I don't know. Maybe the Texans or maybe they're the ones that pull it out this year. Maybe we're catching that. Maybe I'm thinking that would be the biggest surprise to me. And the Colts 5-5 is insane to me in that division. I don't even know how that's
mania.
Yeah, the Colts mania in there. Sunshine, come on! You got to prove Jimmy wrong. Show up a little bit. You got to sunshine.
All that rubbing ain't gonna make that hair grow back any faster, bro.
What's the other sunshine here? We got 2 of them in Los Angeles. They play a barn burner.
This guy's way more. This guy is so much more sunshine than Trevor Lawrence. Oh,
that I agree. Oh yeah, he is way more. And they just continue. I mean, Allen was awesome for the Chargers again at receiver, and he has quite a day. And their defense just can't do it. The Chargers do it, Jimmy, in typical fashion. Just They find a way to lose better than nobody else. Nobody does it better than them. They're creative with it. They just find different ways. I guess for the Lions standpoint, I kind of found it impressive they won a game like this. I kind of thought this was a little bit of a trap game. Just I don't know. I think the Lions knew about it, but just felt like a game like easily they could lose here as well. So I'm kind of impressed that the Lions were able to win 41-38 against the Chargers, even though the Chargers I know have the reputation, but Lions are trying to break that as well. What do you think of that game?
I'm happy for the Lions, and I think that proves they're out of that building cycle, because it kind of takes a few years where you have to learn to win games that you shouldn't. You have to learn how to not lose games that you should win. Now you have to learn how to win the games that you should and be able to hold off a feisty team, because as bad as the Chargers have been the last few years record-wise, they're just so talented. They have so many weapons. Shout out, I'm wearing my Western hat because they qualified for the playoffs. They're actually the 2 seed in the Super Regional, but Eckler had a big day, finally got himself. He's been in the end zone for the past 4 weeks straight, so it's not like they're not producing, and that was a shootout. That was an old-school Pac-12 game. Like, Justin Herbert should have been right at home. But that running game, the offensive line of the Lions is overlooked quite a bit. They are so talented. That's the strength of their team, and if all 5 of those guys are healthy, they can have anybody in the backfield and make them look awesome. And it makes Jared Goff be able to play like a former number 2 overall pick. So it's not that Jared Goff is playing out of his mind, but he's got the protection right now. They have the DNA, the offensive line, to be able to do things like this. This is a real big kudos to the Lions and the Chargers. At this point, you're just going to have to get rid of I can't even think of the head coach's name, but it's been debated over for the past 3 years. It's time. It's past time. Probably should have been fired before McDaniels got fired.
Easily.
But
27 for 40, 4 touchdowns for Herbert on the day. Goff goes for 333, 2 touchdowns. But to your point, they ran the ball 31 times for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Montgomery literally ran through the entire defense along the sideline. It looked like Madden, where guys were just bouncing off of him.
And Jordan, this guy, St. Brown, continuing to play with 8 receptions, over 150 yards again. Yeah. I don't know, like the Lions, their offense, it'd be interesting where because I don't know, I guess we could go to this conversation with it. Jordan, I'll let you get the first word in. Is it still just the Phillies and Niners world? Have the Lions cracked this world yet?
I think the Lions have. Them missing Montgomery for the Baltimore Ravens game kind of hurt. I don't think it would have changed the overall outcome. Yeah. But anytime you miss a guy as dynamic as that, definitely hurts. Now they have a 2-headed backfield now. They absolutely have an outstanding receiver that's playing out of his mind. Goff, when he doesn't turn the ball over, is as good as anybody we've seen in the last couple of years. I mean, he was in a Super Bowl. We kind of forget that from time to time. He just wasn't quite the answer for LA. But when you give him good protection, just like you said, you give him some good weapons, a defense that can be relied upon, that guy will take them to the playoffs. So I think they're talented enough to beat a full-headed 49ers team. I don't think they'll topple them, but I do think that it'll be an interesting game.
That's where I'm at with Jimmy. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to kind of just put that. It's like, to me, still 1-2 in a gap. Lions. Where are you at with that?
I would say yes, but the Lions were able to beat the Chiefs earlier on this year in a game where they had to manufacture their win. They had to manufacture their win today. These are lessons that you take later on into the season, and depending on how seeding works out and who gets the home field is probably going to play a huge part in the NFC playoffs. Running the ball and being able to establish and control the line of scrimmage travels. And I know that the 49ers do it, but if the 49ers have to travel to, it's kind of a moot point, but because they play in a dome, but if they have to travel to a place like Detroit, I feel like Detroit, with the way that their running game is able to move and establish the line of scrimmage, you can find ways to win those games. If you can shorten the game by 2 possessions, keep it within 3, you're always there. And Dan Campbell, I feel like he's trying to get smarter, and he's trying to put his team in that situation.
I'm already fired up for that game. I want that right now in the playoff. Let's give you that right now. We get Eagles-Niners in a few weeks here. So that won't.
Here's my caveat. I want it to be played in the big house. I don't want it to be played in the dome. I feel like if it's a Detroit home game in the playoffs, I want it in the cold, in the snow. That's what I want.
like hockey, we get it out on the outdoor stadium game. We got to get that there. It'll be interesting what they move forward with the Chargers. Like you said, Staley needs to probably go. Got to end that deal with it. We kind of talked about the Steelers already getting their win over the Saints again. Carr, they don't get it done. Winston comes in. The Dobbs story, the magic continues. I saw some great tweets at halftime where it was like, I miss Joe Montana. I miss Dan Marino, but I'm alive for Dobbs. I thought there's some good stuff going on with it. They pull out the win. Doesn't matter how you get it done. And the Vikings moved to an incredible 6-4. I thought they were dead. We thought about putting them on the list, Jimmy. Thank God we held off on them on the list there. I don't know what to say about. I mean, the Saints to me have to be. Terrell, are you out there? You gave Jimmy a little bad time about the Jim Thorpe comment last week. So I mean, you did have the Saints maybe in the NFC Championship game again here. He said so. Where are we feeling with the Saints here, Jimmy? I mean, just now should they just go to Winston? He didn't look very good.
Winston, I mean, I don't know. I feel like something's got to shift. They have not looked good since Peyton has not been their head coach. They've had an easy enough division that if Dennis Allen was somewhat competent as a head coach, he would have been able to figure out how to win this thing and put things in order to be successful. I said it last week when the Vikings won, and I'll say it again this week. The fact that Josh Jacobs was able to go out and beat – if this was the Bengals losing to the Vikings with Josh Jacobs, I would be inconsolable because that's not a good loss. Not saying that he's not a good quarterback, not saying that he doesn't deserve to win games. He's a smart guy. He said that he could memorize. I've heard because Schlereth is one of the local guys here in Denver, and I listened to his podcast. He was the Fox broadcaster for their game. He's like, he knew how to memorize. He memorized all the calls. So he knew the words to say and all the calls on the play sheet. Does that mean that he knew what to do on every play? No, that does not mean that. But he's smart enough that he was able to figure it out. That's 2 weeks in a row. Once people start getting footage on him in this new scheme, it's going to come back to where we know it is with the Vikings. It's good for my girlfriend's dad. Shout out Tim. He lives and dies by the Vikings and how their games go. So they're excited about this. I'm sure that they're happy and they're going to look at me and go, "We're 6-4. What are you talking about?" Yeah, that's great.
Good. They're feeling good. Plus 24. Jeff, they won 5 in a row. Jefferson to get him back hopefully soon here. I mean. But again, Winston, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's the 50-50 man, as we call him.
It's always a 50-50 split. 30 for 30, baby.
They call him the 30 for 30. How about the other team that we had them on last week? The Falcons, they blow it too against the Cardinals. They have like a golden opportunity.
Oh, my goodness.
Goes down. Then they bring in Ritter.
John, we talked about this. We talked about this specifically, John.
Don't watch the All-22 this week, John. Do yourself a favor. Save yourself a few hours. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. You don't need to do that. He said, don't get don't get to stage 7 too early. Whatever, there's that thing there with it. So I don't know. The Falcons again, they proved they kind of blow another opportunity, and they do it in ugly fashion. I guess is Murray. I kind of felt like when he came back, I'm like, this does feel like a little bit of a trap game for him, though.
No, he had to win this game so that he could justify buying Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. That's all he was trying to do. Now he's like, hey, I won, so I get like 15 hours of video games this week, right? And the Cardinals, Bidwell's like, fine, here's the new console, here's the new game. Go get it out of your system. We're back at practice on Tuesday.
Oh, that's good. What do you think, Jordan?
I didn't see this at all. When I was speaking on Sunday tailgate this morning, my pick was all in for Atlanta. I thought Murray would come off with a lot of more ring rust than what we saw. But I was kind of impressed. As much as Atlanta gave him the win, he still went out and played some consistent football, which we haven't seen in a long time. But and his comments in the media this week were, we're only a couple of players away from being good. So whether or not he actually believes that going forward and the attitude carries on, we'll see. But I was impressed. But yet again, Atlanta just finding ways to lose games, and the defense on their payroll, it even with inconsistent quarterback play, man, it doesn't add up.
I'd be surprised I'd be curious if one of those teams would fire their coach mid-year. Like they're both right there in the division. Like, you know what I mean? You said it last week. You think the Falcons are going to do what the Raiders do at the end of the year. Why not just do it now? I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that they need to. It just
But
if you're desperate like this and you're going to do it at the end of the year, just do it now.
the Saints need a clean house. I think.
I think Allen.
Top to bottom.
Yeah, I agree. And then they had the receiver. He had the incident this weekend. Thomas, just not a good start to the week as well. He had the domestic thing there. But the Falcons, they blow it. The 1-8 Cardinals, they get Murray back, and you just any chance of it. The Bucks, they actually win. So that division is just. And that's going to be hopefully that's going to be the 10 a.m. game on Saturday morning, probably for the playoffs, right? The first round wild card division series. That's going to be the.
Is this college football? What are we talking about? Yeah, I know. I forget. You got the beach. You get the game starting at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Tyler's on the East Coast this week, so he's feeling that. He's been complaining about it all week. Speaking of a team in his division, the Seahawks, they pull out an ugly one against the Commanders. They're still right there, still tied with the Niners, though. Like, again, these teams could steal it one way or the other. It's not like they're going to happen, but you just hang around, win a game head-to-head. You're right there with it, even though I don't think any of us would think that would ever happen here with the Niners. But the Seahawks are an ugly winning team at this point. It'll be interesting to see how healthy they stay in the playoffs to become playoffs. I think if they're healthy, they could give any team trouble. But if their receivers go down, I just feel like their depth. I mean, I do like their secondary, but it's still not like all the way there yet. They have the Witherspoon, who's obviously a nice rookie, but
I don't know. Like being held together by Pete Carroll's gum right now.
Yeah, it's just not going to stay healthy enough to me. I just think, and Geno, at the end of the day, I mean, I think do we all believe in him enough in this regard? I mean, they had to barely get by the Commanders here. Sam Howell made a great play at the end. I don't know. I don't know where you're at with the Seahawks. Like last week, we kind of maybe believed in them a little bit more because the Niners struggles, but I don't know. I see a game like this, it kind of makes me feel a little less confident in them.
I mean, they're right where they need to be, I guess, because they have to keep it close and make sure that the race is tight. But beating the Commanders is not like a signature win, and beating the Commanders the way that you did, having to make that comeback and a walk-off field goal. I have the math teacher that I work with is from Seattle, so she's a huge Seahawks fan, and her son is on our team this year. So I see him every week, and he's like, "Oh, you see the Seahawks?" I was like, "Yeah, I feel really bad," because it sounds very similar to like when I was going through middle school as a Bengals fan, where we would have the seasons with Andy Dalton where we like win 10 games. Like, hell yeah, you see what's happening, and then playoffs come, and you just like, oh, I should have seen this coming the whole season. I should have known this was happening the whole time. That's where I'm feeling with this Seahawks team. I see it through the eyes of my students who happen to be Seattle fans, and I just see pain and heartbreak. I'm gonna have to have like a big donut or something. Like, come here, Ollie. Let's commiserate together, because I know exactly how you feel.
It's gonna be all right.
I got to get to a game there for a second. I don't know. There's something about there, the weather there with like the crowd.
The faux 12th man.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'd love to get. Even when I watch the Washington Huskies on TV, I always had this period of time where I like them for some reason. The uniform, the mist, the rain coming in there. So that team looks good, by the way. I wouldn't mind getting their quarterback in the draft. So Seahawks, they had the Commanders. Torelli, we tried. They didn't get the job done. The Colts, we talked about their ugly win with it. Mayfield, they have an ugly win. I guess as I kind of look at the standings here, like we kind of shape to it, the Cowboys end up blowing out the Giants. No shock there.
The who?
Exactly.
Tommy DeVito and the Giants. The Tommy DeVito football Giants.
Is there a surprise to you guys? Like the only thing, like to me, this is like I want to bring up. You guys can go off if you want. Is the whole Patriots thing? I knew they were going to suck, but it does feel like this whole Brady thing, along with Belichick, it is kind of. I don't know if it's going to ruin him as a coach or anything like that. It's coming crashing down right now. Like it is burning now, like at the ground. Like they're having the arguments on the sideline. They're getting a little bit more heated. They're benching guys on final drives. It's does not a good look here to end an era here of good football, a 2-decade era. So I don't know, just kind of something that was the early game. Not a good game at all, but man, not some good things to come out of good old Jimmy there. Is David Hasselhoff maybe watching there? I'm not sure if he was, but yeah, Jimmy, what do you?
Was he singing halftime?
He might have been singing the halftime show. It's crashing, Jimmy. It's burning. Right
no, it's good. No, it's good. It's a scheisse. It's scheisse. That's all I can say about the New England Patriots situation. Nico was giving us a German lesson when we were making our picks for our show this week. But that's,
I saw that.
yeah, with the fact that we're talking about the Patriots in the same way that we used to talk about the Browns and the fact that Bill Belichick was the coach of both franchises before they inevitably got to this point in their franchise history. This is what happens. New England, welcome to the rest of the world. You suck after you're really good because you've been good for so long that now you've put your franchise, like the leagues are set up so that you can be good for however long, and then you have to go back down to the bottom because they want to see all their fan bases have success. They want to make as much money as possible. So unfortunately, you had to fall off your cliff. Now we're going to see how much you really enjoy football. Because honestly, I've always thought the New England Patriots fan base is one of the most fair weather fan bases that I can come across. When they were good, they were super obnoxious and unruly, and they were all over the place. Now that they're bad, I don't see Patriots jerseys. I don't hear people talking about the Patriots as much as I did. I went to college with a kid who used to wear a Barstool jacket with the Patriots colors every single day for an entire semester. I was like, I know you don't have that much money for laundry. This is disgusting. You got to take this off. And I don't see that level of intensity from that fan base now. So this is where you are currently, and it's not good. Not good at all.
They've fallen off the map a little bit here, Jordan, and just like I said, like the way it's going out too, we're going out in ugly style. I don't mind it. Not gonna hate it.
But I mean, it's years of having. Over a decade of having low draft picks. I mean, even 2 years ago they were a playoff team. So I mean, like you look. They've never had a true rebuild. They've always kind of plugged in free agents around Tom Brady. Tom Brady attracted the biggest amount for the lowest money. They made Randy Moss absolutely into a star and a second coming. They've always had the Wes Welkers of the league and running backs like Corey Dillon, piece of crap. Sometimes comes over and winds his way out of Cincinnati. Win the ring.
Do you hate Corey Dillon or James Harrison more, Jordan? I have to know because I have feelings about both of them. Which one is on higher on your list?
Corey Dillon, basically being the original Antonio Brown, throwing his shoulder pads and jersey into the stands and walking out. That's my hatred. Regardless of how you feel about an organization, you have to be a professional. And
he went off on their organization this summer. He said, like, when they didn't pick him to be in the Ring of Favor, so he went off on it. He does not have a good report.
Shit, dude. What are you talking about?
He was stunned. He said it should come down to the fans.
That's like if Carson Palmer was like, I can't believe Cincinnati hates me. Dude, you were such a baby, you retired to get out of here. You had a full diaper and you took that to Oakland at the time, and they don't even have a franchise anymore. That's how bad you sucked.
That was that bad. It is that bad, people. And Jimmy, thanks for the cheap shot on my team here. The Jets,
you guys just tied it. I'm hoping that you
I
win.
know, 9-9. Me and your brother's team going at it here a little bit. A barn burner. 9-9. The Zach Wilson Aiden O'Connell Bowl. Everybody signed up for that one at the beginning of the year. Not what it was. They have Giants, Patriots in a couple weeks. Please, NBC. Please flex that.
Flex now.
Unless you want Talking the Gridiron to get the greatest views in the world that week, you do not have that on there. You make sure they're trying to help us out. As I do a little standings check, guys, as I get it on the screen here, I'm going to do it like from the playoff style, just to kind of give us a little rundown from that. Show where we're at like I said, week 10. We got Chiefs, Baltimore, Jacksonville. That's our top three. You got Miami, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, 4, 5, 6. Houston rounds it out the 7th seed. Obviously, we have a lot of teams 5 and 4, but that's where you sit right now in the AFC. You go Eagles, Lions, Niners. That's the top 3. Saints, 4 seed, believe it or not, people. Seahawks, Cowboys, Vikings round out the NFC there. So still a lot of football to be played, but that's where it does sit today. Believe it or not, if that's where it did end, that's where the Bengals would be out, but there is a lot of ways to go here with it. So that tiebreaker could be a killer. That's the thing with these losses when you get down to it. It's like it does, like, head to head. There's that big loss if you guys tie with them. So we'll see how that stuff plays out towards the end of the year. Anything kind of surprise you about those standings, Jimmy? Saints 4. I know it's just because of the record, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no. As of now, I feel like it would be a pretty easy walkthrough for the teams in the top of the standings. If this is how the playoffs were to shape out, it would be a very take a March Madness term, it would be a lot of chalk that I would be picking going through the bracket. The interesting thing comes into like that the conundrum for the 7th seed in the AFC. Cincinnati beat Buffalo. Houston beat Cincinnati, so Houston now stands on top of both of those two teams, but who knows what Buffalo's going to look like tomorrow. I think they're going to probably come back and trounce the Broncos because the Broncos suck, but that's an interesting conversation to have. The fact that the Colts are sitting there still within the range because the teams in front of them lose and they happen to pick up a couple bogus wins, we could be talking about the Indianapolis Colts in the playoffs for the first time since Andrew Luck. That's a little wild to me.
For sure. I didn't know that either. I would not have guessed that. And like you said with the chalk, obviously when you see the Bengals, Bills at the beginning of the year, Jets, Chargers down in the playoffs, you're right. That is to me, that's the biggest thing that stays out to the AFC right now is those teams need to get it together. Come on, gentlemen. We want to see some good football. But the Browns,
it's a long season. We're running out of time in the long season.
Let's go here. I don't want to see Browns Steelers in the mix. Let's go. Sorry, Doug. You didn't come. You had a chance to come on tonight. So we could have got you out raving about. He said he could have made it. Well, we'll see next week. Maybe.
Surprised about the losing Jefferson, losing Cousins. They're at winning record without Justin Jefferson. Do you think that's going to affect his contract moving forward?
I don't think so.
They're 5-1 without him.
Dobbs makes more out of Jefferson. I don't know. That way, see, I don't know. I still think he'll get paid. I think he'll get paid big time. Because if not, he'll just go somewhere else. I think the Vikings have. If he's a star, they can market him big time. He has the little dance that everybody loves. Yeah.
Put him on the other side of Jamar Chase again. That's all.
that would be a tough matchup. You got T. Higgins, man. You got T. Higgins there for sure. All right, hey,
He's in the last year of his contract. I would much rather have Justin Jefferson on a new contract than T on the end of his contract. Well, I also said earlier in the year, Xavier Worthy from Texas. If the Bengals would have continued on their little skid at the beginning of the season, I would have loved to see Xavier Worthy and Jamar Chase on the same receiving corps.
That was it. I mean, what was the one that we were getting rumors of? Hopkins and to the Chiefs. It was something like that. Hopkins somewhere we were getting at the beginning of the year was the rumor that he was going to add to the Chiefs. That's what it was, or the Bills ends up going to the Titans. Speaking of the Titans, Jimmy, can we cross them off now? I think we can officially put them on our list here. I think I'm adding them on tonight, folks. I think that's where we go. We're gonna add them on there.
Baker, rest in peace.
They are. We sorry, Will.
They've been buried alive. The casket match is over.
Will the Thrill. We gave him 2 weeks. Get the job done. We're going to cross him out. Goodbye, Will. You're off the list. I don't know if we add anybody else. I feel like the Rangers, I want to put them on the Jets. But
the Titans are a good one because, honestly, for our wrestling fans, because it's getting later into the show, and now I'm sure this is when our wrestling fans are tuning in, the referee was knocked out of the last 3 weeks of the Titans season, so nobody saw what was going on, and the Titans had like a steel chair and hit somebody in the head. Like, oh, yeah, Will Levis is going to be the future. Will Levis, I know that he dropped completely out of the first round. Nobody ever wanted to – the referee's like, oh, my goodness, oh, God. And all of a sudden the referee came back to coherency and turned around and goes, oh, yeah, what are you doing? Get that out of here. And finishing move after finish. You got beat 20-6 by Tampa Bay. That's a stone-cold stunner from Baker Mayfield.
That is
pathetic. I like it. Baker, and we said Baker is a little legit here. Can I have the Rams to this too? I feel like they need to be added to this list as well. Can we say they're done, or is there still a chance they get in the wild card?
I feel like Sean McVay wants the season to be over so he can get on to whatever vacation he has planned right now. He's never looked more like Cliff Kingsbury than he has the last 3 weeks.
I mean, they just signed Carson Wentz. Put it to rest.
Thank you. So they put it. We got Patriots, Broncos, Giants, Cardinals, Bears, Panthers, Packers, Titans, Rams. You are dead officially to talk at the gridiron here in terms of playoff hopes. It takes a while to get you on it. Like I said, we'll just throw out a couple of weeks, but we gave you guys, you are God. We gave the Rams a couple extra weeks to kind of see if they can pull it together. They did not. They'll see if anybody else makes the list next week on the show here. All right, very end of it. Who we got tomorrow night? You're the Denver Broncos playing the Buffalo Bills over here. Shout out to the other sports show, my guy there, JT. Retweets our stuff here. Really appreciate them. They got a great show. They do a lot of wrestling talk, or a lot of UFC talk. They do a lot of football preview stuff. Like you guys do on Far End of the Bench that I would watch last night with the Week 10 getting your Nico's picks. They do a lot of good stuff like that as well. So shout out to them. Appreciate them retweeting our stuff there and following along. They were watching it at the gym. One of them was going for a run, Jimmy. That's somewhere on the screen there today. So appreciate them doing that. Bills, Jimmy, do they win? Do they cover the spread as well? The spread is 7 at home. They're going to be playing the Broncos. What do you got?
They have been too inconsistent for me to be like 100%. Yes, they're going to win and cover the spread. But I do think they should dominate this Broncos team. The Broncos have been cute winning against the Chiefs. And then you had the bye where nobody had to worry about you for a week. So now you got like this new shiny smell after coming off of this bye week. And you're playing the best player in your franchise's history in Von Miller for the very first time. He hasn't looked like himself. What a better coming out party for Von Miller than Monday Night Football against the team that you won a Super Bowl for, that you're going to be a Ring of Famer and the team that you made your Hall of Fame resume on. This one looks like it could be. I mean, and the Bills owe somebody a beating because they've been wandering around the playground for the last 3 weeks trying to find somebody that they can beat up. Hasn't worked out for them for the past few weeks. And now the Broncos, cool. Bow. What are you talking about?
I got to go touchdown Raiders, so I had to throw that in there as you're going. Keep you continue. They got the Broncos on there Monday night. Yeah, we got the Raiders. I love it. You got a little Chris Berman love there with it. I love it. Hey, first touchdown for him. Michael Mayer.
First touchdown of the game. Yeah. First touchdown of the game.
That is true also.
Less than a minute into the fourth quarter.
Do you think the Jets can get a touchdown?
I don't know.
That seems impossible. There's no way they get a touchdown, Jimmy. That's not going to happen.
I don't care.
I'm
going to watch college wrestling.
What did you text your brother last night? The Jets are dead or something. You texted your brother something. And you're like, I'm not even feeling good. I'm sad for him on that. So you mentioned the Broncos. They end up getting there with it. What do you think, Jordan? What you got with the Broncos Bills on Monday night?
I think I'm going to give the win to the Bills, but I think it's going to be by 3. I think it's going to be a very sloppy game. I think you're going to see kind of some carryover from the Chiefs win. I think the Broncos are going to come out with swagger, him in the mouth for about 2 quarters, 3 quarters. The Bills are going to squeak it out. You're going to see Josh Allen kind of do what he does best and make some boneheaded turnovers. But just at the end of the day, I think the Bills get it. But I don't think it's going to be the glamorous win that everybody thinks that the Bills are going to come out and, beat the kid up on the playground and,
they don't get healthy this week then? They don't get healthy.
I don't see it. I think it's going to drive the Bills organization into further questions than answers.
And they're the team that has, at this point in the year, has to answer the most. They've had the most, like, what the heck's going on? Like, you know what I mean? But it does feel like their head coach, he feels like he's gone. To me, like, he's not the most, like, you see what the Bengals do. You see what, like, even, what the elite teams do, Shanahan, those coaches, the Bills just aren't creative. It's just, it's so much either just Allen on his legs, he has to be Superman. You guys are just ahead of the curve offensively with some of the designs and stuff. Like, they don't have any of that imagination from the head coaching spot or even the offensive coordinator spot. So I think you're right. I think it will be a grinded out game. To me, 46.5 seems high. I can see that actually being a little bit lower in that game, but we'll see how I'm usually wrong in these things. So yeah, we'll see if Nico's Broncos can get the job done. All right, as we move here to the end, game ball, week 10 game ball of the week. I'm going to go a different guy here in the game that you guys played. I'm going to go the running back. I think Singletary had 150 yards here in the game. He was pretty good, had the touchdown. He played well against you guys. We didn't mention him at all in that game, but obviously if you can run the ball, that's going to get the job done. So I give him my game ball of the week here, getting the win on the road versus the 2 Cincy guys here. Jordan, do you have a game ball here by chance?
I'd say give it to Josh Dobbs, doing it with his legs, doing it with his arms.
Again, I like it.
Still squeaking out, 2 consecutive wins on a new team. So
he goes home with 2 variety sports game balls in 2 weeks. Gotta like that. What do you got, Jimmy? Who do you go for one?
I'm going to change up here. I'm going to give it to a position because we haven't heard a lot from this position except for their made up holiday from a few weeks ago. But the tight ends today showed out. As I'm looking here, Hawkinson had over 11 receptions, 134 yards, a touchdown. McBride, who's on my fantasy team, had 8 receptions for 131 yards. And then Kittle, 3 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. The tight ends showed out today. So the tight ends get a big nod. If the Bengals would have pulled it off today, I would have been talking about now I can't think of the kid's name, the one that they just elevated from the practice squad. Jordan, help me out. He got like the first 5 receptions of the game today.
Oh, we're talking about be elevated.
Yeah, I think his name's Hudson or something.
Hudson.
I don't know, but the
Hudson.
tight ends had a big day today, so I'm giving my game ball to the tight ends.
Tanner Hudson, Super Bowl ring from the basically playing special teams for the Buccaneers.
There you go.
Yeah, a ring's a ring. Good you get it. John, yes, we ripped into Big Arthur for you. We said that you need to fire Candy him. So I think that's what Jimmy said. Getting rid of him. We need to move on. We got to get a little life. Fire him now. Fire Dennis Allen. I think you and the Saints fire both coaches this week. And we have a good that would be hilarious.
Now that Arthur Smith no longer has his mustache, I no longer feel obligated to defend him.
I love that. That's the reason we get. I love it.
John, I tried. I said there's no way you're going to lose that game and then lose next week to the Cardinals, but here we are.
Let me ask you in a dream scenario while I got you guys on. If and when Bill Belichick gets the boot, does he join Tom Brady over in Las Vegas to build something there?
Well, that would make me sick.
If I'm a Raiders fan at this point, I don't know how you feel, Daren, because I know you are the Raiders fan. You have to, if they win tonight and Antonio Pierce is able to salvage something out of the season, you have to go with the interim coach because they screwed up on it with Bisaccia. I don't know if it would have been better or worse, but the guys were playing hard for him and they brought in McDaniels. I feel like bringing in another Patriot guy is just going to send the wrong message to the organization. What do you think?
Please no more Patriot guys. Like, please. That'd be nice. Like, let's move on from that. I don't want any.
The head coach and the GM. I was looking up here. I was like, oh, shit, they fired the GM too. Oh,
yeah, we do not want him. We do not want anybody else to do with that. Yeah, you want Dennis Allen to stay. I'm sure you do want him to stay. That helps you guys out a lot if he stays as the coach. That is for sure. You definitely don't mind that at all. All right, hey, let's look ahead before we wrap it up. Let's go to Week 11. Let's kind of look at some of the matchups here as I kind of bring it up on the screen here. Kind of looking at some of the games going into it. You guys get the Thursday night game. Bengals at Ravens. Not a bad game. What's your guys feeling kind of headed into that primetime game?
I'm scared depending on the health of our defense, honestly. Is Sam Hubbard going to be out still? Is Trey Hendrickson, his MRI results, at least to my knowledge, not back yet? It's just, man, I don't know. Well, they'll be testing the depth of our current draft picks on a defensive line, and I don't think they're ready. So
that one guy on your team, by the way, he got killed for a kind of, it looked like they said a cheap shot on the Texans guy. What was his? Was it Murphy or something like that? He got Miles Murphy. He got I thought
our
that was
first
kind of
overall pick this season. Yeah,
I thought he got one there. So what do you think, Jimmy? That's a pretty good matchup with the Ravens. You guys usually do, I feel like, okay against the Ravens. We've kind of said what you guys said. Jackson, iffy at times with it. So we'll see what happens with it.
No, they're fairly successful against the Ravens in primetime for as bad as they've been in primetime in general. And the Ravens on Thursday night normally go in a decent way. I think back to that AJ Green game is a while ago now, but that's what I'm thinking of. I said it last time we were talking about the Bengals game coming up, and it worked. That's what they did. Establish a running game. You have Joe Mixon. You have this offensive line that you've invested in. I know that we're a throwing the ball offense, but you have this guy here. Let's take some pressure off of Burrow. Let's get him under center. Even if it doesn't work where you're getting 15 yards a carry, running the football is very important. That's why the Ravens are as good as they are, because they run the ball better than anybody else. In that first game we played against them, Burrow didn't see the ball until 10 minutes left in the first quarter. They're able to hold on to the ball because they have a great running game. The Bengals, I feel like, have the ability to have a better running game than what they've shown. So run the football. Don't put your defense out there in 3-and-out situations. Don't put your defense in bad spots, especially if their depth is going to be tested. Let's do what we know can be helpful for us, and running the ball also opens up your passing game. So I feel like the key for the Bengals for the rest of the season is establish running game every single week. Brian Callahan, do not worry about getting your receivers the ball until we have a running game established, please. And thank you.
It's funny. We had two big – we talked about the AFC North to start the show. We'll kind of end it in some ways with that too. You got Steelers, Browns, like we said, that's a big game as well. Next week, I'll say a lot to do with it. You got my Raiders going out to Miami. Another game that kind of intrigues me a little bit is the Monday night one, of course, Eagles, Chiefs. I think that's the big boy. The Sunday night, Vikings at Denver. We'll see if that one gets flexed. It doesn't look like it will. So it looks like Denver will host a game here. Eagles at Chiefs, though. That will be a nice one for Monday night. That'll be kind of a good kind of like right before Thanksgiving. Then we get those Thanksgiving Thursday game, guys. So kind of starting to get to that kind of fun part of the schedule a little bit where you get some of these holiday games, a few like Saturday games coming up here in a month. So I don't know. It's kind of a fun part of the schedule. And a lot of the better games that they schedule at the beginning of the year. So it'll be kind of fun to see some of them play out. I think even Niners Seahawks on Thanksgiving, that's a pretty good primetime game as well. So we'll see what happens there. Not bad. Even the Lions, you can actually watch the Lions maybe this Thanksgiving. They don't have to just skip that one. So, we got that. Yeah, that's usually the nap. The Cowboys are the nap team now. They play the Commanders this year, so that's probably the nap game if we're going to go that on Thanksgiving. So, all right. Hey, we're getting the hour mark here on Talking the Gridiron, guys. Good show here. Week 10, wrapping it up. We'll be back with you again here for week 11. We'll get you guys ready for the Thanksgiving games and all that stuff. And like I said, we'll have a little bit of the Bengals Ravens game to talk about. We'll probably get you ready for that Chiefs Eagles game as well. Raiders, can we hold on tonight against the Jets? We'll see if that plays out for me. We'll see if I get a nice little win, get to 500. Smoke the cigar after the game. We'll see if we'll do that again after that. Smoke the cigar. But we got that. Jimmy, you guys doing your predictions again this week? That was fun, that show you guys did.
Yeah, last week we had some technical difficulties, so we re-released a classic show, which ended up being a lot of fun. It was before I got hired as a teacher and right around the time Russell Wilson got signed to the Broncos. So I actually have a section in there where I was like, we have Nikola Jokic and Nathan McKinnon. Now we have Russ Wilson. Great athletes, just love to play in Denver. So I had to listen to all of that debacle. Check out the classic episode we just released. We're going to have our normal episode. We got to recap everything that's happened with the NHL and NBA. So we're going to try and get a full episode going, but hopefully everybody enjoyed the classic release. Then top of the mountain, I mentioned it already. We got two teams in the RMAC that are currently 1 seed and 2 seed in the super region quadrant of their standings right now of the D2 football bracket. And Western's hosting a playoff game, which will be the opening of their brand new stadium, which my dad and I are possibly going to be making a road trip out. About 3.5 hours into the mountains, we're going to go watch our alma mater host their second playoff game since the start of the new millennium. So top of the mountain this Friday is going to be a lot of fun.
That's sick. And you guys do a good job with that show. Rev, like I said, one of these days when it plays out, we do a show on a different day. Hopefully we'll be able to jump on with us. Always like his insight on the game. Jordan, you guys did the tailgate thing again this morning. You guys got that going on probably throughout the rest of the year here. How's the predictions going? We're doing pretty good. The morning one's always interesting because you gotta have to nail that. You got it right before, then you're like, dang it, you got that one wrong.
I only dropped about last time I checked. I only dropped 2 games today.
That's not bad one. Dang. All right, not bad. We got that.
I had the Titans winning, which I gotta learn. But my upset with the Vikings continuing to win, that was one of my big pickups. So we'll see. I only dropped 2 games today so far. So.
And Dobbs makes the primetime appearance next Sunday night in Mile High. We'll have that on while we're doing the show next week. So appreciate anybody that's been tuning in to Talking the Gridiron here. We're halfway through the season, boys. For Jordan Maxson, for Jimmy Pilato, I'm Daren Breyer. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Hey, this is Brandon, CEO of the Variety Sports Network. Thank you again for watching tonight's show. Best way you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button, that like button, and hitting the notifications so you don't miss out on